Aloha and good morning from beautiful Wahiawa, Hawaii, PV here, and I'd like to welcome you to the first chapel, not only of the calendar year, but of the third quarter. More on that in a bit. Now, before we get to today's message, I'd like to hear about how you spent your New Year's. So, teachers, if you want to go ahead and pause the video, ask your students how they spent their New Year's. I'd like to hear about it, or you can go ahead and leave it in the comments below how you spent your New Year's. All right, so for us, what we did out here is we kind of got those poppets, and we were just hanging out with the neighbors in our lane, and it was pretty cool. And being in Wahiawa, there was a huge fireworks display at midnight, which was fun to observe since I didn't have to pay for it, so that was awesome. Now, here's the thing. I have said this before, and I will say it again, and I will continue to say it because I'm kind of a cynic about things. Nothing magical happens at January 1st, 12 a.m. Okay? 12 a.m. on January 1st is the same as 11:59 p.m. December 31st. There's nothing magical that happens in that minute. And yet, there's something about declaring a day new, like a new year, that makes us think that we have a new opportunity. I don't know about you, but I'm thinking back to the second quarter. And I shared with you some of my struggles with being motivated. And I wonder if you can relate to that. Maybe some of you had an awesome second quarter. Okay? Maybe you were on that upward trajectory and you just kept on going. Good for you. Awesome. Okay? Maybe some of you, maybe we didn't have the quarter that we wanted to. Okay? Or at least maybe we didn't have the quarter that our parents wanted us to. And we're thinking, oh man, like, how can I dig myself out of this hole? Well, what I'm going to share with you today is something I've shared before. And the reason why I'm sharing it with you again is because, and this will come up in a bit, sometimes we don't need new information. Sometimes we need to remember the old information. So I'd like to share with you one of my favorite Bible verses. Now, I'm going to share it with you from the NIV, which is the translation we tend to use at KCS, but I actually memorized it in the ESV, and again, that will come into play later. The passage is Lamentations chapter 3, verses 21 through 23, which says this: "Yet this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness." Now, the book of Lamentations, it's a collection of songs, 5 songs to be exact, that were sort of composed right around the time that Jerusalem had fallen, the city had been demolished, the Babylonians had taken people into exile, and the people who were left there around Jerusalem were lamenting. Lament is sort of a fancy word to be sad, okay? And so the people there, and these are usually ascribed to Jeremiah, but we don't know, the book itself doesn't tell us, wrote these songs to express their anguish. And what's interesting about the way that they express their anguish is they know they kind of deserved it, okay? They know that, yeah, they committed idolatry. They did not treat people well, the orphans and the widows. And so they kind of brought this upon themselves. And so they're crying out to God saying, yes, we get it. We messed up. Okay? We did wrong. And in the middle of this book, in Lamentations 3, there is this glimmer of hope. Okay? But this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope, in the ESV. Okay? And so one of the things that we want to extract from this passage is that God's compassions do not fail. God's compassions do not fail. And why do we need to know this? Well, like the Israelites, we mess up. Okay? And again, thinking about second quarter, there are times where maybe you may not believe this, but sometimes I am late on my assignments. College recs, I was late on a bunch of them. Okay? And I knew that I was wrong. And so when I got called into the office and Mr. K had to ask me, hey, what's going on with these college recs? I knew I deserved whatever was coming. Okay? And the thing is, we need that compassion because a lot of times we mess up and we know it. Okay, we know that we messed up. And the verse tells us that we can trust on the faithful compassion of the Lord. As I mentioned earlier, sometimes we don't need new information. We just need to remember the old stuff. And it's really easy for us when we're in that pit of despair of like, oh, I messed up, I deserve it, everything that's coming my way, and we just sort of heap it on ourselves, and we forget. We forget that God's compassion is there for us. God's mercy is there for us. God's loving kindness is there for us. And this is what the writer of this particular song in Lamentations wants us to know, that we want to call this to mind. Okay, call this to mind. That way we can have hope. And so what I would encourage you to do, and I encourage all people to do this, is that I would encourage you to memorize this particular verse. Okay. Now I'm a big believer in memorizing Bible verses because sometimes you don't have the Bible. Okay? I've been in situations where I didn't have a Bible, I was in a very dark place, didn't have my phone, okay? And all I had was that which I had memorized, and it carried me a long way. So I would encourage you to memorize this passage. Now I will say, it doesn't matter necessarily what version you use. I memorized it in the ESV, which is a little bit different from the NIV that we use, and so sometimes I flip back and forth, or I combine the translations. But that's not the point. The point is the idea behind it. Okay? So I would encourage you, I would challenge you even to memorize this passage. But this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. Okay? The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness. Now I love that line. New every morning. So here's the thing. Every New Year, what would we say, right? Happy New Year. Okay? And we assume that again in this new year, we're going to be a new you. You know, I'm gonna read these books, I'm gonna run these miles, I'm gonna learn this skill, I'm gonna do these things. And again, like I said, New Year, it's arbitrary. There is nothing different between January 1st, 12 a.m. and December 31st, 11:59 p.m. And that could be really cynical, but I think we could take that and make a positive out of it. Okay? It means that every minute of every day is an opportunity to get those new mercies. Okay? So instead of thinking like Happy New Year, every time you wake up in the morning, every day, January 1st all the way through to December 31st, I want you to think Happy New Morning. Happy new morning. I have new mercies because it's a new day, and the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. They will always be there every single morning. All right, well, with that said, I wish you a great, happy new morning. I pray that this quarter for you challenges you, and you push through the challenges, and I hope that you push through it together as you're in your classes and with your teachers, and that at the end of this all, as we look back on the quarter, we can see just the ways in which God directed our growth and our steps. All right, so until next time, aloha, and have a great day.